welcome to Nursery Lessons. Today we wanted to talk about volunteers and suckers. That's quite a topic, but what we're really looking at is if you're in the world of horticulture or have anything been around gardening, you know what a volunteer is and you know what a sucker is. But what do they have to do with my life or leadership or your life or family leadership or career leadership or any leadership for that matter? And so I think let's go back and look at what that means, and then we can come back and what they mean in the horticulture. Well, then we can come back and tie it all together. So what is a volunteer in the world of gardening? Well, we all have planted nice annuals and even some perennials, but we have these beautiful color plants that we put in front of our shrubs to make our landscape more vibrant through the seasons. So that annual has a very finite life. It has a growing season. For instance, if you're familiar with like petunias or begonias, you know that those plants will grow in the south, for instance, in the springtime, and they'll produce great blooms, and then they'll die out as it gets either too hot or too cold, depending on which type of plant it is. So it's a very specific growing season. That's somewhat like we're not eternal people. We have a very finite, especially when it comes to leadership, self-leadership, family leadership, job leadership. It's a constantly changing we go through seasons, so we're an annual. But certain annuals will reseed themselves, or as they die off, as the blooms die off, they'll drop seeds and they'll get what's called volunteers. So the next year, even though that plant only had a growing season lifespan, the next year you'll notice that you have many more come up from where you might have only had one. So it's given itself to these volunteers and it's produced them, and then they become, in most cases, mirrors of the parent, and they become vibrant and healthy and beautiful, and then they drop seeds. Zinnias are a good example. If you're a gardener, you'll know what I mean. Zinnias drop seeds and come back quite prolifically. Now, that's one type of growth, and it's a growth that comes from the parent that knows that its life is going to be in a finite area, so it's dropping its seeds. The second part is, and if you're in a growing area where you have crepe myrtles, you'll definitely know this, but it goes for a lot of plants, and that's called a sucker. So what is a sucker? If you have a tree or a shrub where off the base of that you get all of these little shoots that just start coming up from there, those are called suckers. And what are they doing? They're taking energy from the plant. They're not part of the overall beauty of the plant, not usually. They're coming in a place that's usually unintended. It's not growing where you wanted it to grow, and it's zapping the energy, and it's pulling the nutrients because they're being fed first, and it's pulling the nutrients from the top. So even the main plant, the leader plant, begins to not look as vibrant or grow as healthy, and then you get these suckers who are taking the energy. So a lot of times you'll go out there and you'll just cut those suckers off, and that'll give the plant the energy it needs to continue to grow, and you won't be losing nutrients to parts of the plants that were not only unintended, but in many cases unsightly. So let's take those two things and look at our life from a standpoint of what are we leaving behind. Are you leaving behind the opportunity to plant the next generation? Are you leaving behind your seeds of growth for that next generation so that these volunteers come up and then they in turn drop their seeds and continue to produce an entire colony? Or are you allowing suckers to attach themselves to you and suck the nourishment from you, and therefore you're not helping to grow anyone else and you're struggling to grow yourself? So be a producer of volunteers. Don't be a host for suckers. So look at your life today and think, are there people or things in my life that are being suckers, that are preventing me from producing offspring, producing more people that have the skill sets and qualities that I like? Doesn't matter if it's parenting, it doesn't matter if it's job, it doesn't matter if it's just only in your personal life and your spiritual life or wherever it is. Cut off the suckers. They're taking away your energy, and produce volunteers that replicate the good behaviors that you have. So hopefully this helps somebody today. Get rid of the suckers in your life, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.